recap of Derrick Lewis and Sergey Spivak. It was two events going on. It was the UFC Fight Night event and it was a Bellator. I think most of us knew what was going to happen in both of those main events, but we kind of hoped for a different result. In the main event, we had Derrick Lewis and Sergey Spivak. It looked like Sergey got a performance of the night. Easy performance of the night, man. I hate to say it, but I'm not surprised that what happened, man. What about you?
I'm surprised on how things happen. I'm surprised on how dominant Sergey was. I thought he would win like a decision. I thought he would just stick and move and fight a certain way. He went there and just ragdoll Derrick Lewis. He didn't really. I wouldn't say ragdoll him. He just
no. That's right. He ragdolled.
But the way he did, he had a game plan. He stuck with it. He fought safe.
But this is what I was saying in the prediction video. I was like, is Derrick Lewis losing all that weight? Will that have a side effect of him not being able to get out of certain situations that he normally would have been able to get out of because he was so strong and powerful?
Yeah, his weight was the same though. He was more shredded.
No, but I think that normally he has to cut down to 265, but this time he was just 263 or something.
I mean, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
like,
makes sense.
Like normally he cut down to make the limit. But I'm like, man, I started thinking, what if this might not be the fight to lose a bunch of weight? Does that make sense? Maybe for health reasons, I understand, but Sergey was not about to be able to outstrike him. It's just too dangerous of a game to play with Derrick Lewis. We've seen him in 5-round fights lose up until he win with one punch in the 4th or 5th round. It's too dangerous. So Sergey, his path to victory would have to be the grappling. But I don't think this was the fight, unless it was for health reason, of course, for Derrick to lose a bunch of weight. He probably needed some of that weight. Because I'm thinking back to Gabriel Gonzaga and other fights where Derrick, people had him full mounted or had his back, and he was able to just buck him off.
I don't think it's that. I think ever since he got that knockout record and the fact that he beat Francis, I feel like...
And Curtis Blades, like you said.
I think subconsciously he feel like there's nothing else for him to achieve.
Because he got beat by all the people who fighting for the belt now. Well, other than Francis gone, but Cyril gone.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He got wins over Francis, Curtis, some of these other guys who are in the top 5. So I think subconsciously, Derrick Lewis feel like he achieved a lot.
Oh, I got it backwards. I see what you're saying. Cyril Gane beat him. Sergey Pavlovich beat him. It's like the next wave of guys.
Yeah.
And realistically, Curtis probably beat him in a rematch at this point. So it's like...
It looked like Derrick Lewis, he only wanted to fight a certain way, man. He only want to brawl. He don't want to grapple. Now, I think this is just an even worse version of Derrick Lewis because he's never just been out grappled other than DC. He never lost like that. And now he looks like he's just not motivated to grapple. You know, so now it's like he don't want to strike, he just want to brawl. And now he don't want to wrestle or grapple. Now he just want to do one thing, and that's just throw hands. Then even when he throw hands, he might get caught. Now he get dropped, and now he's like, well, it's an early stoppage. Bro, you just brawling. What you mean? Like, you don't have a game plan, nothing.
Man, it's funny you say that because I was thinking the same thing. It's like, I know he want to fight a certain way, but even when he gets the fight, when the fight is going that certain way, he still was losing. It's like at some point your game has to evolve, man. Like,
I think maybe he's just one of those guys, man. Like, you know how like certain guys like Rampage Jackson overachieved? Maybe you could put Derrick Lewis in the same category. I know Derrick was never a champion, but maybe he just overachieved, bro, to say where he come from and his circumstances, his childhood and stuff, to see where he was now, because he really made it real far.
Yeah, he got the record for knockouts.
It's been a lot of guys like him who've been brawlers, and like they career ended like real bad. They end up losing 12 in a row. Yeah. Like the Soka Jews and these guys, bro. But
I think there are still winnable fights for Derrick. I think Sergey was just dangerous. So, you know, one thing is, not to talk too much about this, but one thing with the heavyweight division, you got those top tier guys, and then you got the middle tier, and then you got the lower tier guys, especially in the heavyweights where there's only a few good guys. I hate to say this, but there's only a few guys that's really relevant. But then you get these guys like Sergey. He almost reminds me of like a Tatu Avasa. When he started taking it serious, it's like he go on a win streak. I feel like Sergey right now is just dangerous. I feel if this fight happened a year ago, I feel like Derrick would have won, or 2 years ago. But right now, it seemed like Sergey just taking it serious. He done had some losses. What did you tell me earlier today about Tom Aspinall? Like if they run that fight back?
I was saying because the way when Sergey Spivak fought against Tom Aspinall, the fight ended in like 30 seconds. It didn't take long, and the way Sergey looked his last couple fights, it looked like if he would have got his hands on Tom, he could have did the same thing to Tom. Maybe not this fast because Tom is a black belt on the ground, but it looked like maybe if his hands was better at the time, maybe he could have did the same thing at the time. I kind of want to see them run it back.
And they might run it back because Sergey going up the rankings now, and Tom, since he recovered from the injury, I don't know if they'll run the Curtis Blades fight back or how that'll happen. But
this might be a good little fight for Tom. His first fight back from injury.
Yeah.
I don't know how healthy
somebody he already beat, but at the same time somebody who's gotten better and has they increased their ranking to kind of meet him. But there are still winnable fights for Derrick Lewis. It's a bunch of people he can still knock out. It's so many people that the UFC can match him up with. They just not bigger names.
The only thing is even Augusto Sakai.
Yeah, you got to fight them a certain type of way to beat.
Because I can see Augusto beating Derrick. I hate to say it, man, but Derrick is just kind of a shell of himself. I hate to say it, man, because there's always excuses with Derrick, and not from him. I'm not talking about from him, obviously. I'm talking about from his fans and followers, man, because it's like, okay, you got to understand, people going to say, well, he got out-grappled. Okay, what about when he had fights like Tuivasa? He had brawlers.
Brawlers, not strikers, brawlers.
He had Sergey, man. You went there, and the way he fought against Sergey, I can't get that out of my head. When Derrick fought against Sergey Pavlovich, he just went there, he ducked his head, he just throwing punches. He didn't move his head. It just seemed like he just wanted to
just catch him.
Yeah, and I think that might be the curse of having all that knockout power because he might have got away with it for so many fights.
But now people know. Look, when you got the UFC record for knockouts, is that for the entire UFC or just?
I think for the heavyweight division.
Man, that's a lot of knockouts, man. And people know what you're gonna do. So it would be better to improve your overall game, because then imagine if Derrick went out there and then shot for a takedown on Sergey and got it, and then was able to ground and pound. You see what I'm saying?
It's kind of, I'm not comparing Derrick Lewis and Mike Tyson, but Mike Tyson did that later on in his career. He got away with beating certain fighters without training. And then kind of pacified him later on in his career, man. And then
worst thing
it was one fight, I can't remember the guy's name, but he knocked the guy out in the first round and he looked horrible, man. He just looked out of shape, whatever. But he said, I didn't train for this fight. He said, my best friend.
You talking about Mike Tyson?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He said, I didn't train for this fight. He said, my best friend died and I had to go to the funeral. So he pretty much said he didn't train for the fight at all.
Right.
I think it's kind of happening to Derrick Lewis a little bit, because I think whenever you get away with losing to Alexander Volkov the way he did, and to get a knockout in the third round, and then he had other performances to where he was losing and he got a knockout, I think sometimes they can pacify you, because Cyril Gane, he has to stick to a game plan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like with Derrick, bro, like he never had a 1-2, he never had a jab.
Man, you took the words right out of my mouth.
So it's like maybe his age and this point in his career, man, I would love to see Derrick shape back, but I mean,
he's in the heavyweight, so there's plenty of fights that he can get. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, but
there's plenty
honestly,
of people.
But this version of Derrick Lewis, man, he gonna still need a jab. I hate to say it.
I know,
man.
but you're right, and I'm gonna cover 2 points now that you're saying that. The fact of the matter is, when I'm watching Derrick fight, man, he didn't throw no type of jab. It was no type of leg kicks. It was just straight hooks. And I'm thinking, man, you got to set it up with something. But there are people in the heavyweight division, I hate to say it, their fight IQ is so low, they would never be able to fight Derrick the way they're supposed to fight him to beat him. Because Cyril Gane had to fight a certain type of way. Tatu Avasa was able to get away with it, but Derrick did hurt Tatu Avasa, and now look at Tatu Avasa done lost a few fights by knockout. So that catches up with you. You don't really want to win that way. And then there's a certain type of way you got to fight Derrick.
What's the guy named Justin
Taffa?
Justin would lose. He would give the fight away.
Derrick would destroy him.
Yeah.
I hate to say it like that, like not in a disrespectful way, but there are just certain fighters who it plays right into the hand of what Derrick does best. I don't think they should have rescheduled this one. I think the first time that this fight got canceled, I believe that was an omen. I never heard Sergey do an interview or nothing.
That benefited Derrick Lewis more. They gave him more time to prepare for it, because come from them losses, he didn't look like he was 100% there.
He had the time and it still got destroyed in the first round. I couldn't believe it. But Sergey is on one right now. But there's plenty of fights for Derrick, man. And hey, Sergey looking good, man. And then speaking of looking good, Devin Clark had a good performance, man. He just kind of used his wrestling. You know, we talk about this. You never know what version of you never know what version of Devin Clark you're gonna get. See, the next fight he'll get knocked out in 30 seconds.
Derrick too.
The next fight he'll get knocked out in 30 seconds and look bad. And when we expect him to continue to look good in fights, and it's just. But he did mention in the post-fight interview that he having a baby, so that is extra motivation. But Dawoon June,
he looked like Dawoon June. He wanted Devin Clark to stand in front of him so he could knock him out.
No, that was not gonna happen. Devin wasn't gonna let that happen, and it was experience, man. It was experience, and it was a good version of Devin. But I think there's still room to grow for Dawoon June. I'm not giving up on him just because there's 2 losses in a row. he lost to two people with a bunch of fights under their belts and a lot of experience. So, and then speaking a lot of fights and a lot of experience, we got Marcin Tybura was able to get the decision over Blagoy Ivanov, which
Blagoy, man, he just don't pull the trigger. He sit back and wait, man. And
a lot of the stuff we talk about in the prediction, man, is like there was ways for him to win, but he just.
But then he got kind of taken down a little bit too in control. It's like, bro, he's supposed to be the grappler.
Yeah.
And Marcin was able to control him.
But you know, some people.
But Marcin go out there, he's a neutralizer too, man.
You did mention
he
that.
goes out there and he probably has some of the highest fight IQ in the heavyweight division, not including Cyril Gane and John Jones.
Well, you're not talking about skill. You're talking about just fight.
You gotta understand, Marcin, he's not the most talented guy, but he can outsmart you.
Yeah.
So it ain't the worst loss. It just Ivanov is still 19-5. You know what I mean?
Great record.
It's just,
and be real, he didn't lose that Derrick Lewis fight. That's what he said.
They might run that fight back. That might be a good one too.
I don't know, man. Not for Derrick.
Ivanov, man.
I wouldn't run it back.
Yeah,
I wouldn't run it back right now, man.
I
think we need somebody who's just a little bit less. Because even Blackwood, I think he might do something to Derrick now, man. But good win for Marcin, man. And
Cal Nelson fight, man. That was some BS.
Somebody on Twitter said, man, they need to start launching an investigation because that didn't make no sense.
What happened was in the third round, they took away a point from Doo-ho Choi.
Yeah.
And like he won the third round, but it ended up being a draw. One won round one, other one won round two, and then they gave it a draw for the third round. People were saying, bro, even with the 1 point deduction,
he should have won.
Doo-ho Choi should have won, man.
Somebody said
you know Dana White even gave him his win bonus.
He paid him because he was like he clearly won even with the point deduction. The thing somebody said that, and I'm just saying what I was reading last night because I was thinking, man, this is so odd. One person tweeted, man, that the ref or the judge, somebody must have had a money line on Kyle Nelson, or they had money on a draw, which we know that's the most rare outcome as far as a decision. And I don't want to go too crazy with this, but it's just like how do you justify decisions like this?
I don't agree with that because if they did that, then why not give Cal Nelson the third round? They didn't give Cal Nelson.
Well, they couldn't give him the third round, but you can take the third round.
He out-grappled Doo-ho Choi in the third round, and Doo-ho Choi at the end of the third round, he started throwing elbows to the body and stuff, man. So they were still kind of close. Because you understand, in the past, they always gave it to the wrestler, even when they got 10-8 on the feet.
Yeah.
So you still could argue Cal. So if that was true, they could have just gave the third round to Cal. He would have won the fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but I mean, it would have been controversial, though, because then...
But either way it go, man, it looked like somebody was just rooting for... I don't know what was going on with that one, man. Sometimes, man, I know that Dana White can't really talk too much about it because you don't want to burn no bridges, because you do need the commission, the referees and judges. You want to have good relationships with them. But at some point, man, it got to be some accountability. It's accountability for fighters when they mess up. It's accountability for coaches when they mess up, James Krause. It's accountability for, I guess, not Dana, but for everybody else. There's accountability. But then when we get to referees and judges, there's no accountability. But moving on, when we go take a look at the Yusaku and Adam Fugitt fight, we thought this was a showcase for Yusaku. I don't think that's what it was. I know that's what it was supposed to be for, but Adam was not going for it. And we mentioned in the prediction, man, that Adam is a dangerous fighter. He very well could win that fight. We mentioned a specific fight that he won a fight exactly the way he beat Yusaku, where he just kind of wore the guy down, and he's dangerous, man. And I told you even this back. Even doing a prediction for Michael Morales, I said Adam Fugitt is a dangerous fighter. And to keep it a stat, to say he took that fight against Morales on 9 days' notice, that fight was competitive. I know he got beat at the end, but that fight was competitive, man. He had Michael in a lot of danger sometimes.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Like, Michael's athleticism helps him get past it.
And that's what I was saying with Adam. If he would have hurt Michael, he probably could have finished him. Because he's like, Adam is not the best fighter by any means, but whenever he smells blood, he finishes. Because even if you look at some of his prior UFC fights, really it was a couple fights where he was losing and they started to slow down or whatever, and he was able to take him down, either submit them or ground and pound them. So he has the killer instinct.
Yeah.
So Michael, he could have really got finished.
Yeah, he could have.
If he would have said he would have got knocked down or something. So he did just enough to avoid getting hurt.
And if you look at that final sequence in that particular fight where Adam got caught, he actually caught Michael too.
Yeah.
It just Michael being a young buck and just having all that energy, because Adam is 34 now. When I saw the age difference, it's a 12-year age difference between Adam and Yusaku. I started thinking, That's a lot of experience, man. Because Adam been fighting for a long time. But Yusaku, the fact of the matter is, they made this fight for a reason. They gave him somebody coming off of a loss on short notice. They basically was hand feeding Adam to Yusaku. Let's make no mistake about it. But like you said, Yusaku, he fought different. He was more aggressive. I think that you got to realize he was the second most anticipated fighter on this card. Other than Derrick Lewis, people was calling Yusaku the Japanese Conor. And people was really looking forward to seeing him do his thing. He didn't look bad in the fight. It just, at some point, Adam just took over in the experience and everything like that. But Yusaku, he was aggressive, man.
He looked bad, man. He never fought. If you go look at any of his fights in his career, he never fought that aggressive.
He's more calculated.
He's always been more like a counterpuncher, man.
Yeah.
That's why I like him, because he was a combination of aggression but calculated at the same time. Because he knows whenever he hurts his opponent, then he gets aggressive. But he kind of did it backwards. But I guess he didn't respect Adam's striking.
Yes.
And that's not why I bet on Yusaku. I didn't bet on him to fight like that. I betted him to have a game plan and stick to it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, dang, man, like I didn't bet on you, and you,
because you fought a certain type of way for this amount of fights. But then, like I said, I think it was the pressure.
That's why I say I think he choked.
I think he choked because he was trying to go for it, because he did land that head kick on Adam, and Adam ate it, remember?
Yeah.
So that was kind of crazy, because that could have easily been a knockout, a first round knockout win for Yusaku. But that's his loss. That's a first loss, man. He'll shake back. And then I watched some of these other fights, man. The road to the UFC. I don't know about y'all, but I had no clue this was even taking place. I don't know if this is even airing in North America. The India has a road to the UFC fighter who won. Good job for Anshul Jubilee. Jeong Yong Lee had a split decision win. Renia, hey, this little dude right here, man, Nakamura. Yeah. Man, he went out there and knocked something out in like 33 seconds. It was crazy. He was reckless with it. Don't get me wrong. But boy, he put something to sleep, man. It was
he's
kind of.
He's another one of them undefeated bantamweights, man. Who, man,
just hungry.
He gonna be like, I hate to say it, man, but like how Jack Shaw was, you're undefeated until you step in there against somebody in top 15.
Oh, 100%.
Then you're not undefeated no more.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Young Park went out there and submitted Dennis Tululian in one round, which I expected that 100%. And then Teixeira looked real good, man. His fight against Jesus Aguilar, he had a little scary moment being in that guillotine, but other than that, man, I mean, he was a minus 1250 favorite. That's insane. It's almost like, and that could have ended badly. Almost ended a submission. So
it's good for the flyweight division too, man. They live on a little bit longer.
They need to, yeah. We're gonna talk about that next.